welcome to this week's Monument Monday, and I'm delighted to be here at Gortlownan at this motte. And I'm joined here today by archaeologist Michael Gleeson, and this is one of Michael's favourite sites, and he's going to give us a tour today and show us around. So can I start by just asking you, what exactly is this, Michael?
Well, this monument is classed as a motte. It's an unusual word, but back then English hadn't been invented. It's essentially a man-made hill. It's got very steep sides and it's got a flat top on it.
Yeah, it's a very impressive structure. And can you tell me, like, when would this have been built, Michael?
It looks like, from mapping them out in the landscape, that it dates from around the 1240s, when the Normans pushed through to capture Sligo under Maurice Fitzgerald and attack the O'Donnells in Tyrconnell.
And how would this have functioned? This is a defensive structure, but what would it have looked like during those times?
Well, they were originally built to capture the landscape and to dominate it. In this instance, it was used specifically for assault to house the troops that were then going to push through to Sligo. And it is part of a frontline chain where you have mottes in Ballygawley, Collooney, Killarney, Dramard, Easky and Ballina. And that was the frontline chain, so it housed the troops there. They would have built this hill in layers, horizontal layers of earth and stone, and around the base usually you would find possible evidence of an enclosure where horses, troops, etc. were kept, and outside that they would have had a defensive bank and ditch and possibly a wall as well.
Very interesting. And would there have been a tower on the top of this hill?
Generally, if they were in use long enough, the Lord would have either a tower or a small hall, depending on the size of the motte, up on top.
That's great.
And again, more for domination than anything else.
Very interesting. And was that a wooden structure then?
Generally, yes. Now, this one, there's speculation that the stones around the edge of the top may have been used in part of a structure or a defensive wall. It's beautiful.
So we're here now on the top of the monument, and we can see a very good view all around us. And tell me, Michael, was that deliberate in terms of, like, did they build a monument this size for strategic reasons?
Yeah, generally these would have been put in the landscape to dominate it, because it's far easier to scare an opponent than actually defend against them. They would have had the Lord's residence and hall on top, and they would have had the troops in what they called the bailey, the enclosure at the base. They would have been, in this instance, it was more offensive, and it's a monument that's specifically focused on the north and up to Tyrconnell and the O'Donnells, because in this instance the Normans were aided by Phelim O'Connor. They were doing him a favour by attacking his ancestral enemies.
So despite the size of this monument and it appearing to be quite strategic and quite dominant, you were saying to me, Michael, that it actually isn't, and that realistically it's actually in a very bad place to build a motte.
Militarily it's utterly useless. You have hills 20 metres away which are higher than it. So you could throw anything into it. It has no defensive ability whatsoever. And it's been disputed as a motte for that reason. But we have it here. Now, we're right beside that. You can hear the Sligo border right here, that stream. And there's a more ancient border here, and that's the border between Sligo and the O'Connors and Breffni, which were the O'Rourkes. Now, we're about 3 miles away from the stronghold of O'Rourke, where the Norman invasion actually started, where Dervagilla, his wife, ran away with McMurrough. O'Rourke petitioned the High King, and they took their troops down to southeast Leinster, destroyed his fortifications. He fled to Britain and asked for help. Promised his daughter's hand to Strongbow, and Strongbow came over and started the Norman invasion. If you look at a map of the mottes in Sligo, you can see that line running over to Ballina, focusing on Sligo to the north. But if you look at the map of mottes in Leitrim, you'll find there aren't any. Breffni was a place to be left alone at this period in history. O'Connor didn't want to tangle with them, and neither did the Normans. It was Fitzgerald in this case. So what you have here at this very end, where they felt they had to put a fortification, was a fortification that is hidden in the landscape. You can't see it from the east, from the south, or from the west. Every hill around it is higher than it, and some of them are 20 meters away. So defensively, it was absolutely worthless. They literally hid the fortification. Now what you have is you have a defensive position just facing to the north. So it offered absolutely no threat to the O'Rourke's.
So this was a statement more than anything, was it, along that frontier?
I suppose it was a political necessity as well as a military necessity. You know, at least that's when you look at the history and you look at the maps, what it tells you, yeah.
Well, that's really fascinating. And thank you for today and for all the information you shared with us. I look forward to hearing more about your ongoing research into this monument. Thank you very much, Michael.
Delighted.